Hey there, good evening. Missing man formation over in Cruz tonight. We've got the FOX6 Sports Blitz coming your way, though. Tim Van Voorn, Lily's out. A Brewers win. Brewers runs on the board. An Admirals win. Lots of good stuff to talk about. In fact, here is our starting lineup. A whole lot of nothing for the Brewers of late, but they maintain that the sample size is still pretty small. The subject of so many questions himself, Giannis Antetokounmpo, plays answer man. If the Admirals are playing playoff hockey tonight, they're probably in Texas. An apologetic Packers principal makes us say what? And if I had a hammer, you'll enjoy meeting our newest high school hotshots.
Dude, I turned around last second. I just saw a glove like peeking over the wall with the ball, and I freaked out. That was badass.
If you don't understand the context, you say, what in the world is Trevor McGill talking about there? All right, it's going to be a Brewer defensive play, and there's been so much focus on the woe-begone Brewers offense of late, Lily. The defense has been pretty leaky this year as well, but not here, not today, and this is why the Brewers are back in the win column.
Yeah, first home run robbery for Jackson Chourio. Props to him. It's been a tough month for him, getting on base. It's been a tough month for him hitting. It's kind of been a tough month playing center field, but this play right here encapsulates what it means to be Jackson Chourio. The fact that he's able to kind of put it all behind him and make a spectacular grab and rob Royce Lewis of a game-tying home run, because without it, it's a 4-4 ball game, and we're talking about, oh my, the Twins could come back and win this game and beat the Brewers. So tip of the cap there from Lewis, Jackson Chourio. But that's the kind of play that I think ignites a team. It ignited this team today in this win. Maybe it can carry on moving forward, but a spectacular grab there from Jackson Chourio. And he made another grab in center as well today. So this was just a spectacular play by him to help the Brewers win.
And you said you'd be saying, oh my. I think you would be, the way things have gone this week for the Brewers. And if the Twins, who have been hot, were able to get that thing back to even, you would think that the momentum would have shifted for sure. But it does not happen. The Brewers are able to hang on. As you said, it could be a springboard of some sort. But where is this team? Is what we've seen of late who this Brewers team is, or was just an aberration, please throw it out kind of week?
I think Pat Murphy and the Brewers are hoping it's the latter,
yeah.
Right? Because you're talking about a Brewers lineup where your usual hitters aren't really producing the way that we are expecting them to. Christian Yelich, William Contreras, those guys have normally been putting up some big numbers offensively. Jackson Chourio as well. He's in an 0 for 18 hitless hole, but playing some good defense. And so you want to see those guys produce at the plate and help this offense come along. But I feel like the fact that they were able to get to the Twins starter today and put some runs on the board. I think there was a moment that Sal Frelick, when he scored that first run, just a sigh of relief on his face, like, we scored a run, guys. We finally did it. I mean, it's been a tough week for this Brewers team. 4 shutout losses in their last 5 games before today's win over the Twins. So I think it's something where, maybe it's just getting the monkey off their back per se, and, these guys can kind of start producing at the plate. But I think they need some more production from everybody up and down the lineup if they want to be more consistent offensively. Because, again, if they revert back to playing games where they're not able to hit and getting shut out, I mean, it's just going to be a very inconsistent season.
Their pitching has actually been pretty good. Tobias Myers has been sent back down after a so-so outing, but they've got a lot of good contributions from their pitching staff. But you can't win 0-0. You have to score. And we had the lineup there, manufacturing runs. We've talked about this Brewers team. A few hits today, but still not really slugging the ball. That's the problem. You're not getting these crooked numbers because you're not getting home runs, you're not getting extra base hits. It's hard to play baseball that way.
Yeah, and if you're not getting some hard contact on the ball, it's hard to score runs. Of course, the Brewers kind of made their name last year just kind of playing some small ball, having some good pitching, but that really hasn't come to fruition, at least this far in the season, and especially in the month of May. So, their bats really disappeared the last couple of weeks, and it's just been kind of tough to watch. Guys just haven't been able to just get on base, and you see their 6 shutout losses in the first 2 weeks of this month. So kind of unprecedented, tying their franchise record, Tim, with 6 shutout losses in one single month. So you hope that doesn't balloon to 7, and hopefully, again, this win over the Twins can be a springboard for this team moving forward.
It hasn't completely gotten away from them in the standings, which is the positive here. If they could get the offense going more consistently again with more than just singles, The pitching has done its job. And the defense has cost them at times this year. It's either the error or plays that have not been made. But Sunday's show was a little bit better on defense. There have been some miscues out in the field, which is not Brewer baseball.
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of their bread and butter last season, right? Small ball, really good defense, really good pitching. But the defense, especially in their Saturday loss when Tobias Myers was on the mound, he didn't really get a lot of help behind him with a couple of, defensive mishaps and a couple errors. And that was what really cost the Brewers. There were a couple innings where they probably could have gotten out of a jam, but there was a defensive miscue, an error, and all of a sudden the Twins are scoring a run in 6 straight innings. And so you can't have that happen, especially when you're playing a team that was red hot at the time, and they still are. So they got to figure out a way to just be more consistent defensively, especially from some of their key guys.
We've talked about it, some negatives, and understandably right now for the team, but a couple of positives too. Rhys Hoskins has been hot, has been the big bat that you've been able to rely on there, and he's come along. And how about Freddie Peralta? Nice outing today, but earlier in the week, 1,000 strikeouts in his career as well.
Yeah, fourth Brewers pitcher to achieve that mark, and a phenomenal mark for him. We all remember, his Mother's Day start in Colorado, and just what he's been able to do for this team, staying healthy, being that ace for the Brewers after they lost a couple top pitchers. And so the fact that he's reached 1,000 strikeouts with the Brewers alone has been really impressive. Another big outing today as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Freddie Peralta's had a lot of ability for a long time, but maybe got a little cute at times, was nibbling a little bit. He's been much more aggressive this year, I think, and he's been in that strike zone. It's made him a better pitcher. The innings have gone more quickly when he's out there, and you see an outing like today. He's your number one starter. He gets you back in the win column. Brewers back in town the rest of the week, and we'll see what happens, or at least going into the start of the week, we'll see what happens from there. We're going on to the Milwaukee Bucks. This time of year, every week, our question will be, what's going to happen with Giannis Antetokounmpo? It's interesting we would pose it as a question, Lily, because he was taking questions on social media over the weekend.
Yeah, he was up late last night tweeting, responding to some Bucks fans, and of course Giannis having a random Q&A while rumors are going on is peak Giannis behavior. He goes, LOL, honored. So here are some of the tweets that he was answering, and you just have to love that Giannis, obviously he knows what's going on, Tim. He knows the narrative that's surrounding him and his future in Milwaukee with the Bucks. And he's just being Giannis, just, tweeting to some fans. And of course, New York, favorite city to play with on the road. There's Giannis, probably late at night with his mom.
Somebody said, hey, if you respond to me, I'll name my first kid after you. He said, well, say hi to baby Yanni, So, I mean, he definitely has a sense of humor about all this stuff. And you don't have to go on and engage on social media, but Giannis is doing it for whatever reason. We'll see, probably just personal amusement as much as anything else. You said Bucks fans. Sure, some Bucks fans out there. I'm sure a lot of other NBA fans thinking, can they get something in there that would allow them to read the tea leaves about his future?
Right. I think some fans saw the New York answer and thought, oh, maybe the Knicks per se.
That was Road City. He was talking about a Road City, right?
Florida
So,
cities,
yeah, I don't know. So that's going on in the NBA. NBA Combine is going on as well. And these are the guys who are going to be in the league next year, most likely at least. Con Knipple we've talked about. John Tanji we've talked about. Cam Jones and Marquette. He's a guy who thinks he can do a lot at the next level. This is basically a job interview for these guys on the court and off.
Yeah, executives, coaches, everybody really in town in Chicago. Just, again, they know what these guys can do on the court. They've watched the film. They've watched them play. But who are they as people? What can they add personally to an NBA team? How can they impress these teams to say, hey, please draft me in the first 2 rounds of the NBA draft in a month? So you like the fact that these guys can get up and personal with these players.
And it's important for them. And some of these guys, I think we've seen Con Knipple there. Here we see Cam Jones. John Tanji would certainly fall in the category as well. Very impressive young men, mature young men. In Jones and Tanji's case, they've been in college a long time. Here, Con Knipple, just after 1 year in college, but he's always been a mature guy. This is an opportunity to show that I'm not going to be overwhelmed. I'm not going to be intimidated. I'm not going to be in over my head playing professional basketball.
Yeah, I might be young, but I can still contribute to your team and maybe be that next superstar that these teams really want.
Absolutely. Well, they sure do. No question about it. We are going to roll from baseball to basketball to ice hockey. The quest for the Calder Cup continues. The Admirals win at Texas tonight. So they're all even with the Stars in their American Hockey League best of 5 playoff series. The rest of the action now shifts back here to Milwaukee. Game 3 is Wednesday night downtown. Will there be 4 and 5 or just 4? Who knows? It's a best of 5 series. Right now, all squared at 1. We're back on the Blitz in just a moment.
What's peaking?
To answer your question, I can't really answer your question.
And like peak?
Where do you get to go when other people are actually interested in what you got to say?
I can say Yakachonis a lot easier than I could say Hamakaros.
But we'll stop there.
I had tremendous conversations with Coach LaFleur and the direction we're going, and I felt like I've failed him at times in some of the things and the ways in which we've played. So I have a certain standard and expectation of how we're supposed to play in the kicking game, and I'm really excited about being here and being back with him and having the opportunity to win a championship.
All right, welcome back to the FOX6 Sports Blitz. There's Packers special teams coordinator Rich Bisaccia just being very candid about his return to Green Bay. And I think a lot has been made about the special teams unit on the Packers just not living up to the expectations I think a lot of people had. So what do you think about his candor, Tim? And do you think that he let Matt LaFleur down?
Well, he was asked, why'd you come back? And I think everybody's expecting the answer, well, I want to compete for a championship or whatever. And so for him to say, I've let the head coach down, I think that was an eye-opening answer. I think that you would have not expected to see some of the miscues you saw last year in the kicking game. I think in general, the special teams have improved under Rich Bisaccia, and he has a voice in the organization for sure in terms of personnel and the way they run some things on game day. But they made some big mistakes last year on special teams. I think it gnawed at him. I'm not sure really that's why he came back, but I'm sure that was part of the conversation with Matt LaFleur once he did decide, yes, I want to do this again.
And I'm sure all eyes will be on the special teams unit to see if they can improve it and kind of be that, third strength on this Packers team.
Helps to get Brandon McManus instead of Braden Narveson.
Yes, secure the kicking position. That's so important. Another thing to note this week was the wide receiver position. And there was a report out there from ESPN that Jaden Reed and his agent met with Brian Gutekunst, the Packers GM, just to kind of solidify and talk about his role on the team. What did you make of that report and the fact that everybody around the organization is saying, listen, Jaden Reed is helping out these young guys. He's a leader on this team.
Yeah, I think Jaden Reed is a leader. He talked about that going into last year, and you've said that the people in the offseason this year are talking about him doing it again, really stepping up, and with young wide receivers coming in, that would make a lot of sense. And let's also keep in mind that Jaden Reed's agent is Drew Rosenhaus, who's going to do things much more publicly than other agents in the NFL. So a story like this coming to the surface, wow, look at Drew Rosenhaus, fighting for his guy. That's not to say other agents don't, but they maybe don't do it quite as publicly.
Yeah, and of course, it'll kind of be the question of, hey, maybe can Jaden Reed be that quote-unquote #1 guy for the Packers this fall, or will a rookie step up? We shall see. But I think what's going to be really interesting to see this year, Tim, and you're going to be at all these games, is the Packers schedule and how they play to start off the season. It won't be easy whatsoever. Packers-Lions to kick off the year. What'd you think of that? And the fact that they also play the Lions on Thanksgiving. Yeah,
2 big games against the Lions. I think every division game is going to be big this year. We hear it every week. Oh, nothing bigger than a division game. They're going to be so important this year in the NFC as much as just in the NFC North. And with the Lions right out of the box, that's going to be big. Lions on Thanksgiving, we've done that many times. That's a traditional midday Thanksgiving game. Kind of nice to be back in that tradition as far as I'm concerned. It just kind of flows off pretty well. And then with the Vikings, who could be good or bad, they're big challenge with them is where those fall on the schedule. So I think it is going to be a very challenging overall schedule for the Packers and so much more difficult in the division than it used to be. And the way those Bears games are grouped late, the hype for the Lions with the 2 games are going to be hyped. This is going to just be kind of a high-intensity Packers season, I think, all the way through.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm also curious to see that, week 1 game against the Lions without their 2 coordinators from last season, how that game does perspire. So Packers, Bears, of course, they don't meet each other until week 14 of the season. So Ben Johnson, their new head coach, plenty of time to get this Bears offense on track when they do see the Packers.
Absolutely, and you'd expect the Bears will be better as the season goes along, unless, as happened last year, they take some shots and then they just aren't able to keep the confidence going. And obviously it led to a coaching change there in Chicago. You would think that Johnson will be more on the ascension as the season goes along than previous Bears teams have.
Yeah, and the Vikings that we're going to talk about, they play midseason, they end the year, Packers do in Minnesota. So a really tough divisional slate to end the year for Green Bay. But I think another marquee matchup we have to talk about, Tim, is the one that we saw in the wild card round against the defending Super Bowl champion, the Eagles.
Right, of course the Eagles go on to win the Super Bowl. The team that played them best in the playoffs was the Packers. And that's going to be a marquee game. Anyway, it's a Monday night game right before the Packers are going to go to New York. So they're going to be in that division kind of mode playing the NFC East. Philadelphia doesn't look to me like they lost a ton in the offseason. Some of their interior defensive line guys, but they recharged and reloaded, it looked like, through the draft. And some of the moves that they made, I would not think they're going to slip too far. That's going to be a big game. Right in the middle of the season, lots of hype. Again, I think high intensity all the way through. I don't see too many down breather weeks for the Packers on that schedule.
Yeah, maybe a lot of tush-push, pro fans will want this game to kind of come to fruition.
You're right.
But you're right. There are a lot of big primetime games on the Packers schedule. Eagles, Commanders, Steelers, maybe Aaron Rodgers.
Maybe. I think we're all assuming that. Matt LaFleur was quoted as, was on a podcast recently saying he expects to see that. I'll be surprised if it's not that. So there's a game where you'd say team-wise, well, Pittsburgh's one of the softer spots you have. But if it's Aaron Rodgers, just imagine how the hype machine's going to be cranked up for that one. So again, I just think it's going to be that type of edge of your seat week by week campaign.
Yeah, and it all starts next week for the Packers, right, with their offseason schedule.
Yep. Yeah, they've been going through their offseason workouts, but then you get to the OTAs, which are more structured. The media will be there to see how these guys look. Who's there and who's not? Is Elton Jenkins out there? Who is, who isn't? That sort of thing. Those are other storylines that will need to be fleshed out as we start to see these guys, and again, who might be conspicuous by an absence.
Yeah, and will that be Jair Alexander? What's his status on the team? So a lot more questions to be answered as the Packers summer rolls around.
But we'll get an update. We've been told that all along. We'll get an update that as we go forward on Jair.
Yeah, we'll say that every single week until there's an actual update, right? All right, we'll be right back on the FOX6 Sports Blitz with our high school hot chat. Keep it here. Well, welcome back. The senior is one of the top players in the state in 2 sports, and she also manages to keep a level head when working with a hammer. Here's this week's FOX6 High School Hot Chat.
Hi, my name is Meg Decker. I'm a senior at the Prairie School, and I'm on the soccer team. Yeah, Megan is my full name, but Meg is my preferred name. No one really calls me Meg. Except when I'm in trouble by my mom. I get the Megan. So I'm committed to play soccer at Marquette alongside the great soccer program. The academics are really good for the major that I'm going to be studying, which is biomedical sciences. Safe to say I'm very, very excited for college and the next chapter. I know, I get so happy even talking about it. It's not such a bad thing that my parents are close to home. I love my parents and they'll be able to come up. Yeah, we have already made pacts. My dad wants to come up too much and I'm like, okay, we'll set some boundaries. Up until my end of sophomore year, I thought I'd be going to college to play basketball. I don't know, but that's like how me and my dad, that's how our relationship is formed, is basketball. He's a big reason to the athlete I am today, and my sisters also played basketball big time. We would be playing in the driveway like every night. We'd get into fights. It was bad. I'm a very dedicated person and I want to win. I want to compete. I think my work ethic is crazy. Some people think it's a bit too crazy, but I mean, when I'm out here and I'm doing sports, like this is my happy place. Ever since I was little, I've always loved science. Right now in anatomy, I take anatomy, it's my favorite class. We're dissecting a cat. It's crazy, people find it gross, I find it so cool. My dad owns a cabinet and countertop company, and that's where I work, and I make cabinets. Yeah, I build cabinets, that's my job. It's a pretty cool job because I'm working around a bunch of different, like, old men. And here I am as this 17-year-old girl building cabinets and lifting them. Yeah, I'm a pretty handy person, I'd say. My name is Meg Decker, I'm a senior at the Prairie School, and I'm a co-captain on the basketball and girls soccer team. And I'm this week's FOX6 High School Hotshot.
Well, Meg have a great time in college, and she also said she's not too sure what direction her biomedical interests will take her, but she's even considering dentistry since her dad's cabinetry work also involves dental offices, and that's pretty cool. We'll be right back.
As we look ahead to the next week, we see a busy slate for the Brewers. No off days at all, finishing their homestand against the Orioles, the Tuesday game right here on Fox 6. Looking forward to that. Thursday, they're in Pittsburgh starting a 4-game set against the Pirates.
And the Central Division Finals are finally in Milwaukee as the series does shift back to Panther Arena. The Admirals forcing a Game 4, so Game 3 on Wednesday night, Game 4 on Friday night, and if there needs to be a Game 5, it will be on Sunday downtown.
The Admirals really backs against the wall last round and then trailing in tonight's game, but they come back, they win this game by a larger margin. Maybe that's a little momentum for them, too. The hockey continues to stretch here.
Yeah, backs against the wall. They always know how to respond, so hopefully they can maybe get this done in 4 games, Tim.
We'll see. Monitoring the Giannis Antetokounmpo situation, monitoring the Aaron Rodgers situation. What do you know? Star players, where will they be in the future? We've done it before. I'm glad you were with us tonight.